Good day, everybody. How's it going out there? Well, when news started to break last week around a particular furry streamer and things like that, I think a lot of people knew what this particular topic was going to be this week because it is a big topic. It is ethics in basically content creation. It's a very big topic, particularly when it comes to financing and basically asking money from people. Furries tend to be very hesitant to ask money from folks because a lot of furries come from places that are very financially not well off, right? So we can't really demand a lot of money from our fans. It's not like we're big music stars or we're big Hollywood things and they can demand We're not Disney, we're not things, we are furry fans. And as furry fans, we like to provide content to our fans, and not charge them a premium for such things. Sometimes to our detriment, I think. And the concept of how much you are ethically allowed to charge or how much prices go up is a contention as old as time. Consumers, people who buy things and fans who buy things, versus people who don't, basically get into a fight all the time. One of the big videos that I did on this, kind of talking on this topic on the art scene, was back in a few years ago when a furry artist by the name of Miles DF was charging $5,000 for a Your Character Here commission. Now, as I said back then, for $5,000, usually you're getting a freaking custom piece, but not this time. You're just getting Your Character Here. So if you want to watch that video, go ahead and take a look at that in my channel. The reality is that a lot of furry streamers don't try to exploit their fans. So, people who are not artists, but content creators on these platforms, on YouTube, on Twitch, and etc., also have means of financing themselves from their fans. And a lot of them have different standards and different thoughts on how they should do that, or if they should do it at all. For instance, like Beta Delota has a Patreon. All furry content creators usually have Patreons and stuff like that. I even had one at one point in time, which I don't anymore, right? And the reason I decided against that is I thought it was a conflict of interest for what my channel is supposed to be about, which is informing furries about news topics or topics of the day, in a manner that can't be sort of persuaded by financials or things like that. Because if you think about it, what if there's like this high-rolling furry who comes along and goes, I'm going to throw hundreds of dollars at you, and then basically I feel like I have to kind of tweak my words to satisfy the person who's throwing me more money? Or the illusion of conflict of interest. Even if somebody is throwing me money and their money is not influencing my words at all, somebody could go out and go, hey, that furry over there who is known for XYZ is giving you money on this, and you didn't broach that topic in the way that you should have, and maybe it's because that person's paying you money. So it can become very ethically gray for someone like me to ask to take money from Patreon and to not be transparent about that kind of thing. And, I'm doing financially pretty well off. I own a house. I am, the equity in the house is pretty sound. I bought it before the bubble. So even if there is a housing bubble right now, I should be fine. The housing debt is the only debt I have left. So I'm in a good financial position. And to me, it would be unethical for me to ask for money when I'm in that kind of a position. If I ever end up not in that kind of a position, I might change my mind. Obviously, because those things go. But I know a lot of furries, I think that the money that you would spend on someone like me could be better spent elsewhere, such as charities, at conventions or going to conventions or, investing in fursuits or whatever you want to do with it. I think your money would be better spent there, because the only thing I would do with your money is pay my house off faster, and I can already do that with my full-time job. So between those two things, the fact that I am financially fine and the fact that, you know, it can be foreseen as a sort of social issue, for someone like me, that's why I decided to deal with the finances that way. And a lot of furries, I think, but there are furries who do this as a full-time job, and they want to make this into a full-time gig, and of course, to do that, they have to get money and monetary, you know, benefit or monetary income for it. So, you know, I don't look down upon streamers that do that. With the one exception this week, obviously, because, like, as far as like the Overton window of how much you can charge somebody ethically, I think we found a person who actually went beyond on most people's standards this week. So we're going to talk about that a little bit now that we got some examples out of the way. So it all started with for this particular streamer. This Discord rules is in that streamer's things. As a disclaimer, obviously, but I should say obviously, is that I ask my viewers not to harass or harm or bring undue attention to this individual or to their fans, and to treat them with respect, right? And, you know, not to treat them in any disheartening manner. We obviously may get a little bit sassy about, you know, Garo Shadowblade's methods and what he's doing, but in essence, it's to communicate about what's going on rather than to demean or harass. So, like, Leto's like, oh my gosh, this is the most toxic set of rules I've ever seen. Laugh out loud. So this streamer thing is a set of rules that this thing's. Now, before we get into any of like all of this, reading this rules, we have to talk about how this Garo dragon person has basically made their setup. They have a website and their Patreon, and it has a few dollar slots here. They have a $5, a $25, and a $100, a $250, and a $500 per month Patreon group. You heard that right. 500 big ones a month, which is almost like $500 a month. You know, before, like, after tax, like, it gets like I think minimum wage, if you were to break it out by like how many hours you would have. So let's see, minimum wage is what, $7.50 right now. Let's do $10. Let's say you make $10 an hour, okay? And if you work 40 hours a week, you would make $400 a week before taxes. After taxes, you would probably make like you'd probably make $252 or like, you know, like $260 or something like that. So, you know, if you're making, if that's the case, where if your gross is like $252, right, a week, that's 2 weeks, that's half a month for if you're making $10 an hour after tax ish. So literally you're paying half of your monthly thing to this guy. And so it's like, it's quite a charge. It is, especially a recurring investment, as it were. But the interesting thing about these tiers is that the $5 per month one basically gets you into his Discord. The $25 a month gets you into his Discord, and you can join him on streaming games of particular games. $100 per month, he actually like features you in videos and takes selfies and stuff. And then like $250, you can actually start talking to him. And $500, you can talk to him, but just a little bit more. So So it is very much an escalating thing that is very self-focused and not very focused on merch or anything like that. It's very much focused on access to them as a person. And so what we have here, so when you're reading these rules, you have to remember these people are probably those who are in, it looks like it says regular and butt tiers, and regular and butt tiers are basically the paw and the butt tiers, which basically $25 and lower, right? So these are the kind of the people he's talking to. Not really people who are like giving him $100 a month or on his streams or anything. That's what it seems like anyway. So it's very complicated, and that's the problem with making all the rules, right? This is the problem with making so many rules, is that you literally need a lawyer, a rules lawyer, or someone to read it for you to understand what the rules are and to understand what the things are and to have somebody like looking out for you. But obviously, the rule maker is the rule maker, and he can change the rules whenever he wants to change the rules, right? So, like, it's not like you could file an appeal against this guy because he's the one who wrote the rules, and pray he don't alter them any further. But anyways, let's go. So first off, server rules apply in all of these cases. Now, technical writing 101, when you're making a rule set, it is very, 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 very helpful to break these things up into bullet points or a numbered list. Like rule number 1, rule number 2, rule number 3, rule number 4. I have new rules. List rules with numbers next to them so I know when your rules start and stop. Because this looks like a paragraph. Like this is narrative style. If you're writing rules, they need to be technically written. They need to be written in a way you can break them down. But anyways, first off, server rules applies to any and all cases, right? So that should be like the opening paragraph, and then he should do like number 1. Do not friend request or target other wigglies. Another technical writing thing is that you're supposed to define strange words and neologisms that you're using throughout your document. But that's that's a bit overboard, okay? Like if you say, wigglies are defined as people who are my fans, right? Who are subscribed on Patreon. That is defined as a wiggly, right? Because otherwise you could be talking to anybody who knows what a wiggly is. But obviously, if you're an in-group talking to an in-group that knows what a wiggly is, that's neither here nor there. But I'm guessing wigglies are the people who are his friends. I guess he likes wiggly things. I don't know. Of course, or of effing course, when we're playing together, there will be conversations and cooperations, but keep it to a minimum towards other wigglies. It's like it. So basically, he's saying, well, you're going to be joining me in games and stuff like that, but you shouldn't be talking to each other in those games unless you're spoken to by me, right? So obviously, there's a sense of control here, right? And it's like, you can only imagine, like, during a game when you're having fun with each other and stuff like that, and then the boss comes around and says, shh, don't talk. He's coming. What did you make? Oh, well, I made a redstone thing. Like see this redstone light? Like you flip the switch and it turns on and off. Well, that's very cool. Why do you keep flipping it on and off like that? Oh, no reason. Are you talking in Morse code? Watching you. Anyways, Jesus. So yeah. Says also, friend requesting or playing together. Also, so this is where, as I said, the bullet points would help, because also, like, this needs to be broken down more. Also, friend requesting or playing together in games like VCR, Among Us, etc. together when I'm not hosting is not allowed. So basically, they're only allowed to play on his servers when he's around. Of course, my Minecraft and Terraria servers are perfectly fine to game with each other on 24/7. Just don't organize group activities without me. Even if it's just with one other wiggly. Focus on individual grinding and save new major events / bosses for the Twitch streams. And as always, keep the focus on myself and my content. Also, as per mentioned in server rule number 1 and in my Patreon disclaimer, active streamers / YouTubers cannot claim these awards or even be in my server. If at any point you start streaming or making YouTube vids, you will lose your rewards and you will be removed from my server. So in essence, like, there is sort of a narcissism, right, that a lot of people will point out on this. Clearly they are wanting to make their own content and make their own things. And that's fine, but if you're going to make your own content and creation, don't involve other people unless you're going to allow them to be themselves. There's a lot of reasons that, like, I rarely play multiplayer games on my gaming streams, but when I do, I get people on we get people on Discord, and they can talk, and I can talk and stuff. I don't need to be the top dog on everything, right? Like, if you watch for one example, we did a streaming of Among Us last Halloween, over a year ago now. And I had somebody host that, who was Golden Bonnie, who did a good job. And I wasn't the one talking it up all the time, right? I let other people sort of, talk amongst themselves and sort of be... And a lot of people I know are kind of bombastic in their conversationalness. And, when I'm in a group of people, I tend to be a lot more quieter and listen with my bigger ears. So, I don't need to be the center of attention or be the big shot all the time, right? The reality is that this guy doesn't want others to take initiative. And if you're creating a community, other people taking initiative is great. I wouldn't have a Discord server if it wasn't for Golden Bonnie, who said, hey, I made this Discord server for you. And even though I don't use it a lot because I don't do social media all that well, his contributions were excellent and great. And, it's great to see fans who contribute like that and the people who moderate here. It's without their things, I couldn't have grown even if the little bit I did. And I would rather have a small group of fans who, feel free to be themselves instead of worrying about what I think about them all the time. And the last bullet point, this last rule that he creates, in essence, shows that he's kind of insecure about himself. That if he's not the biggest thing in the room, that he all of a sudden feels less valuable in a way, which is kind of unfortunate. It's kind of depressing in a way. It's like that, and if there's another YouTuber or streamer around, that he all of a sudden feels territorially threatened, or that it's something that is to be worrisome over. And I think that's sort of why he's using the monetary stuff in order to try to make the club seem exclusive, in a way, but basically he had to make sure that even with the money set aside, is that the people who are buying in are not going to be people who are going to take away people from him, right? And that even comes back to, that is enforced by these, first points here, right? This is enforced by these first points. I want to be the most popular person in the room, and I want people to rely on me and depend on me, and I'm going to make it so that they depend on me. And basically his Patreon is literally trying to implement what is called a sunk cost fallacy onto his subscribers. It's like, well, dang, I paid $100 this month to be a part of this group. I better follow these rules, or I better, treat this guy with kid gloves, because I will lose the opportunity that $100 could have gotten me otherwise. I'll have lost an opportunity cost. I will have a sunk cost fallacy, right? He's trying to get people to subscribe to him so that they worry about being let go by him, because basically they're trying to make them sort of dependent in a way, because this was expensive, so I better follow these rules. And it's kind of a way to keep people within it. Some people call it cult-like. I think it's like, it's almost a weird capitalistic thought. Now, here's the thing. It's like capitalism, communism, I think all the isms are just isms. And, people are people. And, there are horrible people out there who will take advantage of all social systems. In this way, it's using capitalism in order to try to manipulate a social group or community into a more insular community, right? He's trying to use the money in order to bribe people to stay, because they're going to feel worried that if they blow it and they break these rules and they get the guy angry, that he'll toss them aside, and then they'll have lost their $100, a sunk cost fallacy, as it were. If you are in this group, which they're only like about 29 or 28, and I highly doubt that that would be the case, my suggestion to you is, if you just basically turn off your subscription to it, basically the day before the month ends, and just quietly walk away, right? That's the best thing you can do, because obviously the guy is worried about losing people, and and if he's thinking if he makes you pay money, that you will stick around because of the sunk cost fallacy, right? So you got to be careful about that. And that's why he doesn't want you talking to each other either, because once you start talking to each other, like one of you might like one of your peers more than you like him, right? And you might start talking to each other, and you might start loving each other, and you are taking away from him, right? So that's why he doesn't want to see those things organically grow around him, which is depressing, because some of the best things, right, about being a community in the community is sometimes it's not what happens to you, it's what happens to the people around you. Sometimes you get a group together and two people find themselves, like two of your fans, like find each other and they like each other and they love each other, and then they get married or something, and then you're like, dude, like we both love your content, and we met each other on a forum or something talking about your content, and we hooked it up, and we started talking to each other, and now we love each other, and it's like, and we got married, man, and I want to thank you for bringing us together. There are people out there who are content creators who have gotten couples together, and it is the most beautiful feeling in the world. I don't have an example for myself, but I'm sure other content creators do. And when you stifle your community like this, because you're worried about your own feelings and your own insecurities, you stifle that opportunity for yourself to allow your community to grow beyond you. Because we're all going to die someday. I streamed Death's Door recently. You should watch that. Anyways, so that's basically the rules thing and all that ranting about the rules. But an interesting thing happened on their Patreon, and that is when Beta Eta Delota did a video about this and looked at his Patreon, you could see like the number of people who were subscribed and how much they were recurringly paying for a month. They were making like $1,024 a month, and they had like 23 people. Or 28 people, I should say, or somewhere in the 20s. I scored a few. And so they hid that away now. So I think it's because people are leaving. And what was a sort of show of pride. It's like, look at these 28 people and they're contributing to this community. You could be one of those people, has now become a, well, that number is decreasing and it could make me look weak, so I want to toss that away, right? I want to cut that off so it doesn't, if people start leaving me, and because people are telling them, it's like, you know, you don't have to be in a community like this. You know, I don't want to seem weak, so I'm going to, you know, basically hide those numbers. Another thing came up during this whole thing, and that was, and this was kind of irksome to me as somebody who has organically grown 800 subscribers over the past 5 years without much market manipulation, without, you know, going out there and spreading out who I am. But thank you very much for subscribing and keeping on the channel. I don't know why you're here, but thank you very much. I would prefer to have organic growth with actual human beings than this, which is their social blade that was collected on social media at around the 5th of November. And as you can see here, there's a steady growth of about 100 subscribers every day. Now, if you were to look at a social media blade now, it is actually getting kicked down to 13,000 subscribers. So my guess is that somebody had informed YouTube of this situation, and YouTube basically kicked out all the bot subscribers, and those subscribers were basically probably around 20,200 or so. So basically they got all the bots kicked off of them. But before that, this individual had 35,000 subscribers, right? This is one of the worst kind of aspects of it. A lot of right-wingers joke at China about their kind of social credit score, as it were. But, I mean, Social Blade, what is Social Blade but that on steroids, but a stock market of individuals within these kind of spaces, right? I have my own, Social Blade. There's not much to see there, obviously. But like these kind of like paying attention to these numbers and analytics over the tiniest minuscule, and people who are shallow will basically buy subscribers and basically hope to grow their subscriber count to a part where YouTube starts recommending their videos. And that's a problem. And I think that's a huge problem. I think, YouTube needs to be very well aware of this, because like the issue with these bots and kind of things is that if 1,000 subscribers is what it takes to become a YouTube partner, all it takes is 10 days of this kind of activity to reach that 1,000 threshold. And it makes one wonder, like, how long were they doing this 100 subscribers a day injection for? And how many of those 13,000 or quote-unquote organic subscribers wouldn't have subscribed to them if YouTube hadn't recommended it, because they hadn't gotten those bots to artificially pump up their numbers to begin with, right? And it can be very irksome for somebody who's like me and who, obviously hasn't made YouTube partnership because I'm still under 1,000 subscribers, to see someone cheating the system and going, well, I can just artificially give myself 100 until regular people start latching on, and even if YouTube becomes the wiser, all they're going to do is toss out my bot subscriptions, even though all the people that I got because of that artificial generation, came in and wiped up the thing. If I were YouTube, I would say if there is any evidence of this and we have to go in and remove bots from the person, and we can see that was basically done by that person, right? And that person's being suspicious, I would say cut the YouTube partnership with them. Give them a strike. Give them put a strike on their account, such as if they were to do a copyright thing, right? Give them one strike, and if they basically get caught doing it again, right? If they get caught having these kind of activities on their account and other such things, you basically kick them off, right? Kick them off the platform. Or don't kick it, just make it so they can't be a YouTube partner. See if they're in it for the audience and in it for the people, not in it for the money, right? Just don't pay them, because they're basically doing that on their thing. So obviously, if you're talking about politics and stuff, there's obviously ways that you can weaponize that. I think that's the reason that they kind of have to X-nay on like the banning A for the bot things is like, what if somebody doesn't like some left-wing or right-wing commentator, probably more likely left-wing, and then they just like assign a bunch of bots to subscribe to them, and then they could go, look at this, YouTube, all these bots are subscribing to this left-wing person I don't like or right-wing person I don't like, and then basically they can manipulate things like that. So that's the kind of thing. It's like, it's frustrating, it's agitating, but I guess the best they can do is to kick off all the artificial subscriptions, which is what happened here. So I talked about the tiers that he has. This is the, I'll leave a link in the description for this particular tweet. I won't play the VOD or anything on here in case it's content claimed or whatever, because obviously somebody would do that. I don't need a channel strike on my video, thank you very much. So somebody here showed that he had watched the VOD, and basically what you can see on this VOD that will be in the link in the description below is how he's treating his $100 per month subscribers. Basically, he's fulfilling their thing. He's giving them a hug. He's letting them on the live stream. He's not allowing them to be, talk to him directly unless they pay more money, right? So basically because, and this is where his own social interaction is limited by his own monetary policy, is that when you watch this video, you literally see him walking around and basically hugging the person on the virtual thing and going, thank you very much for being a Patreon subscriber. This is your monthly this is your monthly hug and selfie, and thank you very much. Here we go. And thank you very much. All right, now I'm going to move on to the next person. All right, thank you very much for subscribing to this. Your Patreon is very appreciated. Thank you very much. And here's your selfie. All right, next person. And so basically it's like he's kind of like going through it like basically like a cashier like scans items on a basically how a cashier handles customers, right? Because a cashier is supposed to get as many people through the line as possible, as quickly as possible. So in order to make sure that process still goes, it's like, how are you doing today? Have you found everything okay? Yes, thank you very much. And then boop, 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 sports ball, maybe. Or if they're introverted, they won't say anything at all. They just boop, 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 boop. Would you like any bags today? Yes or no? Like, cards ready to swipe when you're ready. Thank you very much. Have a good day. That's it. Like that sort of clinical, efficient approach, right? And the reason he can't be more expressive or be more, it's like, it sounds very robotic and almost cult-like, and people see it as cult-like. But it's efficient. That's the thing. And the reason it's efficient is because these are people who are giving him $100 a month. If they were giving him like $200 a month or $500 a month, at that point, then he can start to converse with them a little bit more. Then he can start to go, to start acting like a buddy. So you're basically paying for access, as it were. And in almost some of the worst ways. And so literally because of those more expensive tiers, in order to make it so that those people who are paying the more expensive price don't feel like they're getting cheated because he is treating the people who have paid lower amounts of money in this way, like giving them benefits that they should be getting, like he has to hold himself back. And interestingly, so he's kind of created this sort of robotic behavior that he has to enact in that video. It's weird and strange, right? Now, when you're setting, and I guess I should end it with this. This is why involving money in social interaction is very, very, very dangerous in a way, because you can end up harming yourself and your ability to grow your community if you make it all about money, if you make it all about the monetary issue. But you can also harm your community if you remove all money from transactions. And this is going to be, I'm going to flip the script a little bit here. Because, it's easy to go, money is bad, all money bad, and it's the easiest thing in the world to say that. Obviously, money don't grow on trees, ain't no rest for the wicked, money don't grow on trees, etc., and we can go down that route. But there is a other side of the coin. Like, this person, probably not very organically popular. I had never heard of Guru Shadowblade before this incident. So organically, they're not very popular. They've just become infamous all of a sudden because of this whole Patreon situation. But on the other side of the coin, there are people out there who are very popular. And if you basically try to skirt monetary transactions in order to gain access in certain situations, it can actually be very detrimental and actually lethal. And the example that I'm going to give here is Travis Scott. So for those of you who are not aware, outside of the furry space, there is a musician celebrity called Travis Scott who was leading a sort of music festival in Houston. And that music festival sold out of tickets. And people were sharing on social media that Travis Scott was basically on social media, instead of being sort of apologetic or it's like or being like, oh my gosh, we sold out his concert, I'm so grateful to those who signed up, and my apologies to those who couldn't get in. I promise he didn't do something ethical like promise that next time, like, hey, if you're a big fan of mine and you didn't get and the tickets were sold out, let me know, and we'll see what we can do about doing another tour or doing another date or something, and figure out how to get you in there next time, give you priority or something, like to make sure that no one gets left behind and stuff like that. Try to make some organic thing about it. Talk to your managers and stuff like that about how you can ethically go about that and do great things for the fans. That's a good way to go about doing it. The bad way to go about doing it, unfortunately, was what Travis Scott ended up doing, and he basically was on Twitter going, "Oh man, they sold out. Well, I guess you could just get in. I mean, wink, wink, nudge. Basically, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You can get in without paying. Just rush the gates, as it were." So this person. So we're talking about narcissism here, narcissistic transactions. Whereas, the guru is trying to make, upcharge everybody to make an artificial scarcity, right? He's trying to create, Guru Shadowblade is trying to create artificial scarcity of social interaction so that you are reliant upon him for nourishment of social interaction. But there are other celebrities out there who have an abundance of social interaction, and the only thing they want social interaction, but they don't care about the money aspect of it, right? And they're not using money to try to get that social interaction because they're already popular, so they don't need to do that. So basically, by saying, F the man, don't pay money to be in the facility, all of a sudden there's a reason that those dollars are in place. And the reason that those dollars are in place is to make sure that the people who are buying the tickets can be safe and have a good time, and make sure that they are there for the concert and that they are not going to cause trouble because they don't want to get kicked out because it's sunk cost fallacy, right? You don't want to, you paid to be there. And you should have a good time. If you paid to be somewhere, you paid there to be there to have a good time. If somebody didn't pay to be there, they don't have as much to lose if they cause trouble or get kicked out or anything else. Or even worse, even just their presence, if logistically there's an issue, is going to cause an over-encumbrance of people, which is what happened in the case of Travis Scott. There was too many people, and there's now too many folks, and it can be so all the people who paid the money to be there are all of a sudden having a bad time because there's too many people, and then 8 people got killed. So money in the abundance of the internet, you should not have to pay to watch somebody stream. You should not have to pay to have access to somebody during the stream, to have access to the chat or to have access to those things. Those are if you are a user in good standing on the platform under which you're watching, you should have the right to comment and do that thing, and if you were allowed to under the thing, right? You should have the rights to do that without having to pay somebody money to do so. Because it's not scarcity to me. It's not like this is a YouTube video. Google has the right, it's Google's platform and stuff like that. It's one of those things, but if you are talking about limited resources, charging for those limited resources is an ethical way to make sure that, people get a good quality experience if there's a high demand for something. And obviously there's people at the very top who can get into anything and it feels unfair. But the reality is that, in certain circumstances, when you have something in such high demand, and there's limited amount of space, there's a limited amount of resources, you have to have some way of, limiting the weeds. And if you want to keep charges low, then eventually you're going to sell out, right? You're going to not in the metaphorical sense, but in the physical sense, you're going to sell out the arena because only so many people can be at a certain place at a certain time without causing logistical issues and death. This is not the case in this case, right? This is the opposite. But both of them are problems with narcissism. One using money to make a community insular and make it seem exclusive, and the other using basically saying, to heck with money in the system, man. There's no reason that, my fans who don't have a lot of money can't come and enjoy my show too, or can't get access to it, can't enjoy my show too. But with deadly consequences, even though he got all the fanfare and all the people loving him and he got to see the huge crowds that he wanted to see, he now has 8 less fans, unfortunately. So it's one of those things that you can't let you got to be careful about, these kind of cults of personality, whether they're big or small within the fandom or not. But I'm preaching to the choir here. Probably you're on a channel where no one else is watching. So you're exclusive. You're exclusive to me. And I thank you very much for watching and subscribing. Click that subscribe button. Kick that like. Kick the comment in the comment section. Kick things. But not people. Kick things, not people. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. This is kind of rambly a little bit, but there's a lot of weird little things about it. What do you think about the whole situation? What do you think the ethics boundaries are for YouTube performers or streamers or furry YouTuber streamers when it comes to charging money from asking money from their fans for access and things like that? Do you think that there is a reasonable expectation? Do you think that there's a limit to it? And other things like that. It's a very good conversation to have, because honestly, I'm somewhere in the middle. It's don't go too crazy, and don't make a bunch of rules and stipulations based upon that. Makes it too weird. But anyways, I already shared my thoughts on that. It's time for you to share yours. So thank you very much. We'll see you again next time.